All right, so today's lesson is scatter plots. We are starting Unit 5. So let's go ahead and start with this warm-up. Which graph represents a function? So since you have a graph, you want to use the vertical line test. So let me grab that line. We'll do green, draw a vertical line. Remember, if it touches more than once on that graph, it is not a function. We're looking for the one that is a function. So A is not, B is not, okay, C looks okay, that's good, and D is not. So the answer for that one is C. Remember, the X's cannot repeat. All right, so here is our essential question for today. How do I use trend lines and data on a scatter plot and make a conclusion? Today I can describe data on a scatter plot so that I can use a trend line to draw conclusions. I'll know I got it if I understand how to interpret data on a scatter plot. All right, this is all in the math notebook. So that's in class Kick. So you don't have to write all this down, but you should know it. Actually, this scatter plot, you should probably have done that in 6th, 7th grade. So what it is a graph that displays two-dimensional data as points. Scatter plot points represent ordered pairs. Okay, so here's just an example. You have these random dots. So it's data that's represented, variable A, variable B, and they are ordered pairs. Like this one is at 1, 9. Two variable data, usually given in a table of values, graphed as points on a coordinate plane, just like you see over here. The points are usually scattered. That's why it's called a scattered plot throughout the first quadrant. All right, here's some related words, and we'll go into this in more detail. Outlier. So outlier, so these are all kind of like together, but if you had one, I was going to put one on there. If you had one way up here, it's not in line, so it's called an outlier. That's what an outlier would be. Cluster, so this one's not a really great example for a cluster. You'd have like an area where there might be several plots together. So positive association, which means if I put a line through here, is it going down or up? Downward is negative. So positive, it would go upward. All right, and this is called a trend line when you put it through the middle of the data. All right, linear association, it is in line. Sometimes they'll like have a curve to it, but this is linear. Nonlinear would be like if there was a curve to it. All right, so don't get scared by this word. Bivariant data. Data that shows the relationship between two variables, paired data. So it's our scatter plot. All right, so how do you make a scatter plot? So drawing a scatter plot, can be drawn to show the relationship between two variables. Step 1, draw an x-axis and y-axis, both with appropriate scales and labels. Number 2, draw a small cross on the graph for each data pair, or just a dot. It doesn't have to be an X here. It could be just a point like you saw on the other one. Give the graph a title. So it just depends on what it is. So look, our icon here, these are the rules for drawing a scatter plot. So it just depends on what your data is. So let's look at an example here. So we have here the height and weight are the X and Y coordinates. The height is the X, the weight is the Y. So this says use the given data to make a scatter plot of the weight and height of each member of a basketball team. So it's 71, the player weighs 170 pounds. It's right here. You can see the ordered pair. 68, the player weighs 160. So that's all it is you take the data and plot it on the coordinate plane. 70, 175. 73, 180. 74, 190. Now, The hardest part here, you look at our scale, this right here just means that there's a big gap between 0 and the first number on our scale, because we don't start below 68, and who would want to put that many numbers on it? It would be way out here if you did 1 through 67. So this just means that there is a 0 here, and just kind of scrunch it up. We're going to start with 68. Same thing here. And then just pay attention, to the scale, how you want to represent it. Well, these were all in increments of 10 pounds. So you just we started at the lowest. It was actually 160, but they started at 140. And put your labels. Bivariate data, data that shows the relationship between two variables, paired data. We look at associations between graphs, positive, negative, or none. We draw a line through the points to show a trend. All right, so it's called the trend line. Trend lines are lines used to predict or used to approximate the general shape of the scatter plot. We can make predictions based off what the trend line shows. So this right here, nonlinear. I talked about that earlier. So it's kind of definitely they're clustered together. So it's just nonlinear because it's not going to form a line. This is linear and it goes upward. So it's positive association or positive correlation. This one goes down when you draw that trend line. It's negative association or negative correlation. These are all over the place. No association or no correlation. Next. So let's interpret the relationship here. The scatter plot shows the average number of hours each of 13 people spends at work every week and the average number of hours each of them spends on recreational activities every week. So if you look at our data, of course they've labeled it working and relaxing. Our hours worked is the x-axis, and these are going by 10, so each line represents 10. This is the recreational hours by 5s. All right, and if you notice here, it's a negative correlation or association, and it appears that the more hours worked, the less hours on recreational activity. So, can you draw a line through this data? Absolutely. We're just going to do the best we can, kind of go right there. May not be completely accurate, but there is no relationship between the average number of hours worked and the average number of hours spent. That would mean like if it was all scattered, there's no correlation. There is a relationship here. The fewer hours worked, the fewer hours spent. And no, the more hours spent at work, the fewer hours spent on recreational activities. That is correct. And if you look at the last one there, the more hours worked, the more hours spent on recreational. That's not correct. All right, let's look at this one. So Julie made 25 international long-distance phone calls to London last month. The scatter plot shows the length of and cost of each phone call she made. So here's the title. Length of calls is RX, so this is in minutes. The cost. Now it is all over the place. There is no correlation. So which conclusion is best supported by the scatter plot? A, the length of a call increases, the cost of the call increases, or I'm sorry, as the length. B, as the length of a call increases, the cost of the call remains the same. Neither one of those are accurate. C, as the length of a call increases, the cost of the call decreases. Nope. There is no relationship. Yeah, that's all over the place. When you see that, that means there's no correlation, no relationship, no association. All right, let's look at the next part. All right, so here the students recorded the total number of pages and chapters in each of several books on the scatter plot. Based on the scatter plot, which is the best prediction, the total number of pages in a book with 4 chapters. Okay, first of all, there's definitely a correlation. it goes up. If I would draw my trend line, just do the best I can. La, la, la. Okay, so, and it is, so positive correlation, positive association. We're looking for what is the best prediction based on our trend line for the total number of pages in a book with 4 chapters. So here's our title. Number of chapters is here. So total, with 4 chapters, we kind of go up, and it looks like it hits approximately right here at the 120 mark. So the best answer is D for this one. Hopefully you can see that and understand that. Again, and I'll just put some lines in here so you can see we're looking at where it's 4. Not doing a very good job there. And so if you go over to the y-axis, then it would be 120 pages, 4 chapters. All right, making a prediction. This is predict what a student who earned a 75% on their history test earned on their math test. So interesting graph here. So this is the history score. We're looking at 75. And this is a positive correlation. So we're going to go ahead and try to draw a line through this the best we can. This is hard to do because on this one they didn't really give us a very good scale. 70 would be about right here, 75. So somewhere between 60 and 80. It's not 60 and it's not close to 80. So you can see our choices here. 77 is too close to 80. It's not 60, and 55% is too low. So the best answer, that's a key there. The keyword's best. Sometimes that's what you're selecting, is what is the best answer. All right, let's look at this one. The scatter plot shows the average number of hours each of 13 people spends at work. Oh, we already did that. Well, okay, so we're just going to go ahead and answer the question here. So we've looked at this graph already. What is the best prediction of the average number of hours a person spends at work every week if that person spends an average of 10 hours on recreational activities? So be careful, recreational activities, 10 hours. So you're looking here. So we need to go ahead and put a line in and come up with the best answer here. I don't know if that's perfect, but if we go from 10 here, we're going over here. So looks like I missed it by a little bit because this shows 60, and it probably could be moved up a little bit to capture some more of these dots. So looking at that, it's close to 60, maybe a little more than 60. So 33 is way too low, 85 is too high, 65 is too low. The best answer is 65. All right, I think we have time for this last one. It says the scatter plot shows the relationship between the weight in the pounds and the age in weeks of a certain dog. So this is the age, this is the weight in pounds. So if we put a line through there the best we can. Based on the scatter plot, which is the best prediction of the weight in pounds of a dog that is 28 weeks old? So the age is here, 28 is here. You follow it up, it looks like it's approximately 75. So the best answer there should be 75. All right, pause it, relook at it if you need to. Just wanted to show you real quick the assignments for this week. We started Unit 5. Make sure you're doing each online lesson. It's on your schedule in the middle. Make sure you go through all those. You do have a quiz over the lesson 2, which would be tomorrow. Reach out to me if you have any questions or need help.